Hi friends, this is Melanie Lichtinger, astrologer for almost 22 years, located in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and of course serving you worldwide or locally. So this is the astro weather for the week of June 6 to June 12, 2022. And I made it a little habit since the last few weeks or month to post videos weekly in addition and complementary to the Astro News newsletter, which is very comprehensive and covers all the planetary movements from full moon to new moon and from new moon to full moon. And these video astro news, which of course you can also just listen to, are more focused on the energy week by week and don't go so in depth, but at the same time you have an auditory experience. That channel might work for some of you really well or even better. So that's my offering here. What's up with the astro weather? So we are now, actually speaking of weather, we're coming to the last 2 weeks. We're in the last 2 weeks of spring now, and lots of people here in the region on the West Coast have been quite frustrated about the meteorological weather, the coolness, lots of rain, lots of wind this spring. Spring is almost over. Where has spring been? Where has the sunshine been? So there's lots of information swirling around and conclusions and assumptions and stories are being cooked up, which is also apropos Gemini and Sagittarius, where the full moon will be on the 14th of June. A little bit of a reference in that regard. So I would always encourage to come to awareness, to come to self-awareness and see, rather than just having things happening and reacting, responding to it or from it, to actually notice what's going on in the mind, in the body, in the emotional dynamic when these things are out. And I'm saying that also since today, this evening actually, from 8 o'clock, from 8:01 I believe, yes, till 11:22, we are going through a void moon phase, and explain that a little bit in a second, from Leo to Virgo. So the Leo to Virgo transition, whether it's by the moon or any planet, and also the sun, of course, is what's called in astrology the Sphinx point. Sphinx in Egypt being depicted as an animal that looks like a lion with a human head, and is also a temple guardian. A little bit similar to the Fu dogs in the Chinese temples. So what guards the temple, and how do we guard our temple of the mind and of our embodiment of heaven on earth, which is also a Virgo's theme, being the priestess, being the priest, being the spiritual being and a spiritual practitioner, having a human experience, and transmuting, or actually taking the Leo expression and experience, which is very passionate, which can be very personal, which can be very expressive, taking that fiery energy, the heart fire, into bringing it into service. But also, where does the Sphinx come in? The Sphinx is about self-awareness. The self, so radiantly expressed with Leo, becomes aware. Who am I, and what am I doing, for one thing? Who's the I that has this experience, and how can the privilege maybe, or the passion, the love be expressed in service. The self-awareness part comes in a lot with astrology in general, because rather than just having things go on and being exposed and blown hither and thither by all these energies, being actually also a witness, being in mindfulness, in awareness, can be so helpful and so freeing. So the moon is going this week from Virgo to Sagittarius, a waxing moon, of course, and we're approaching the Sagittarius Gemini, end of Sagittarius, end of Gemini full moon on the 14th. I call this, actually, it's not just me calling it. I have some names for cusps, but this one is a given. So the end of Sagittarius energy field where the moon will be close to at 23-25, I believe, yes, is, if you project that further beyond the zodiac, you come to the galactic center, the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Really cool, right? So anything that you have in that field of end of Sagittarius, especially 25 to 28 Sagittarius, is what's called the galactic center. What's going on there? That's late Sag, that's double Sag. That also is all about the big questions, the big mystery, the big unknowns, yet unknowables, yet also the sense of knowing, the sense of the heart knows. It's about heart truth and heart wisdom. And also it's about the higher power. It is a galactic center is actually also a black hole. So what take as it is a birthing place for uh, everything in this Milky Way galaxy. So it's the big mystery, the big paradox about the journey, the ultimate journey of life, the journey of our planet, our humanity. It is the big questions, right? And the deep quest for understanding. That's what happens there. So this is also what this full moon will bring up, and it will be the first full moon in Sagittarius, or so the first full moon, new moon, where Sagittarius is involved in Gemini, after the eclipses we had from mid 2020 till end of 2021, which happened all in Sagittarius on the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. So we are a bit off that hook, and we're only on a Scorpio hook these days, where the eclipses happen this year into 2021 till mid 2020, 2022 till mid 2023. We have eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, but the eclipses of Gemini Sagittarius are now over for the next 18 years. And so there's more lightness and less charge to it. Yet there is also, hopefully, what happened was with the South Node in Sagittarius in the last 1.5 years, or since June 2020, so started 2 years ago until half a year ago, is what the shadow of Sag has been released. So it has been exposed and hopefully also come out to not be recycled, but actually being brought to the light and let go of, which is about buying into agenda or cultivating and telling stories that are not necessarily true, but are based on a certain belief or based on a certain agenda. So that's all I'm saying in that regard. While in the meantime, just to mention, Gemini qualities have been supported. In other words, learning, discussing, more information, more science, more dialogues, more so questioning the narrative, actually, right? So we are beyond that, but we're now dealing also with a full moon that is on an axis. So the full moon energy I should also say it's not just a full moon. This full moon will have a T-square, so it's a square from the sun and from the moon to Neptune, and that looks like this. So here is the old school chart that I'm showing you just like this in on the screen. You see the moon here in Sagittarius, the sun in Gemini, and right between them in a 90-degree angle is Neptune end of Pisces. So what's going on with that? Ta-da! So Neptune, so where the apex, it's called, of that T-square is in this case Neptune, wants to be the outlet of that tension. But first of all, what is the tension about? The tension is about thinking and being in the mind, on the mental plane from the Gemini place, and hopefully also in the meantime alchemizing the polarities and dualities and this and that, good and bad, right and wrong, and all that. This is what Gemini does. And at the same time also, or maybe experienced as a contrast with a full moon, the heart, which is Sagittarius, the heart truth, the knowing, the trust, the being on a journey without exactly knowing the itinerary and all the details and all the information, not having all the information. So that requires trust. This is what Sagittarius, where Sagittarius can shine. It's the sign just before winter solstice where the days are getting shorter and it's getting darker, and we trust that despite external evidence for the time being, we come through this and the light will return. So we are in that tension between head and heart, and where is a release point, or where is a expression of all of this? Neptune being the planet representing the spiritual plane, compassion, transcendence, allowing, letting go, opening up, not just trust, but faith and surrender. So there is a big surrender piece coming in from Neptune, and also changing the vibration. When we're in a different vibration, we see things differently. Sagittarius rules seeing, so understanding, but also literally eyesight. And we are also thinking differently about things. We speak differently about things. That's a Gemini side. So this is what I'm saying about that full moon axis. It gets exciting here. And also both the sun in a late Gemini comes close to summer solstice, so we're at the height of the light, and Sagittarius energy is also upreaching. So there's actually a beautiful a lightness and an opening, and a new vibration wants to come in, a new understanding and a new momentum, a movement towards something that brings joy and is really uplifting. That's all really a nice full moon energy here. Of course, you could be also pulled into lower vibrations of all this, which would be like stories and ideas and information, and none of it is true. It's all deceit and lies and illusion, Neptune. So just to point it out, it can be experienced like everything in astrology on so many levels. And my mission, speaking of Sagittarius terms, is always to bring awareness, but also then the medicine would be to change the vibration and the experience, to have a more higher vibrational experience of all this, and to basically in that way also expressing the cosmic energies that are available in a better way, and really using them for the highest good. So this much for that movement of the waxing moon towards full moon, and then the full moon with the T-square with Neptune. What else is going on this week? We have Mercury now, end of Taurus. Mercury has technically come out of retrograde on the 3rd of June, but it will be still in what's called storm. That's the U-turn mode from retro to direct from Earth's perspective. And so it's still moving pretty slowly, and in Taurus, which is also pretty much the slowest sign of the zodiac, and until June the 11th. So some of us might be in that slow mode mentally for whatever reason. Maybe you need a nap, you need to slow down, you need to be more in nature, listen to the body's messages and all that. Others might be more in that Aries mode, or Mars in Aries activate. They might be really impatient with all of that in oneself, but also in other people. So just again to note and be aware where it comes from, and so you don't get to be all worked up about it either way. What's also going on with this Mercury, it is in square 90-degree angle also with Saturn, which has gone into retro on the 4th. That was just yesterday. So Saturn went retro the day after Mercury came out of retro. And so at the same time, they were in exact 90-degree angle with each other without making an exact. I said exact, but it wasn't technically to the degree a minute exact, so it wouldn't show up in any of your calendars that there was a square, but it has definitely been there. It's only like 1 or 2 degrees apart. So it's, and both super slow and both in turnaround mode. So the two are really clashing in a way with each other, but there wants to be a creative expression of that. What's been going on there? So Saturn going retro, end of Aquarius, while Mercury going out of retro, end of Taurus. The end of Aquarius energy of Saturn has a Gemini undertone. So it's again about information communication, in this case more in a social dynamic, societal Aquarius, systemic Aquarius. And so what has claimed to be the authority, which is Saturn, what has claimed to give the parameters, the laws, the regulations, the ultimate authority there, is being now questioned, and is being, some of it is also not dismantled, but it is recalibrated, so it's reconsidered. Were these restrictions appropriate? For example, were these restrictions we're having COVID-wise in Canada when it comes to flying and all these things, are they still appropriate? So Saturn retrograde is usually a time that is 4.5 months per year, where the external authorities step back, are retreating energetically, and it's time to cultivate and come into internal authority and responsibility. So that is the mode of Saturn from June 4th, since June 4th until October 22nd. So at the onset of that turnaround, Mercury squared Saturn. That has not been such a great time to make binding commitments, as I said, right? Because things are really in flux, not all the information is there, and a lot of what can happen also in a Saturn turnaround, authority can get deferred. In other words, a blame can happen, finger pointing can happen, and there's lots of projection going on. So I would say it's a good time to actually step back and watch and witness, which is the quality of Aquarius anyway, and Saturn. And also to give the mind a rest and be in nature, listen to the body, slow down, rather than getting all involved, and then afterwards you are see things differently and have new information, new ways of understanding, which is also okay. And also taking accountability for the lessons that we are learning mentally and responsibility wise. This much for Saturn, Mercury. That's been going on, and I would say it is easing off this week. It's been building up over the last week, and now as both planets have changed directions, it's sort of integrating. Then the personal planets Mars and Venus are now in their own signs. Mars is in Aries since the 24th of May until July 4th, and Venus is in Taurus since May 28th till June 22nd. So nothing has changed for those. What else are we having? With these two, we are having two alignments coming up, which will be for Venus actually already on June 11th, starting in June 11th on the weekend. So that is what you can see here in this chart again of the full moon. You can see here Venus lines up with Uranus and the North Node. That's a big deal actually, and this whole process is technically going on from June 11th to 15th. And so Venus now catalyzes Uranus. Uranus in Taurus since 2019 till 2026, 7 years in a sign, is about embodying freedom. And it's about a liberation from certain stuckness, habitual energy, things that are too slow and too sluggish in a way, right? So you want to experiment with being in a different, maybe literally different location if you can, a different mode of being, different habits, and it's in general, let the body really guide you to freedom. And this is also about being in the light body. Very esoteric, but I'm putting it out anyway. And now Venus draws us to that. So we're having quite an attraction that could literally manifest as human attractions to people, where this embodied freedom is very likely, very a good chance for that, and inviting and all this. And it's also about nature and our connection with the natural world, as if there was such a thing, but actually it is these days. There's a very unnatural, artificial, and basically the whole world of the technological world within nature and within the human body. So we want to come back to nature, and that itself can be a revolution, and quite a revolutionary act, and it's good to experiment and to set yourself free. It's also, of course, an energy for relationship dynamics coming together, attractions happening very spontaneously, surprisingly. But this can be also a separation energy that can help people set each other free, where the relationship has served its purpose, and it would be mostly a scorpionic shadow dance. Scorpio is where the South Node is now, and all of this rolled out over the eclipse season in Taurus, since since especially with the lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse on the 16th of May. So maybe lots of that came up for you, that certain dysfunctional, certain power games, certain dynamics were getting pulled into a dark zone that is not really going anywhere. And that could be a catalyst for more freedom, one way or another. So this much for Venus. And then Mars in Aries, in its own sign, will on June 15th, which is now building up, be connected with Chiron. Mars, Chiron, they come together only every 2 years. Venus meets any other planet, in this case Uranus, once a year. Mars only every 2 years. So the Mars Chiron piece, that can be actually really tricky, because a certain woundedness, a certain vulnerability, a certain rawness, and can really be triggered with Mars. Mars, the warrior energy, in its own sign, but now Chiron in Aries. So it all depends where you're at with Chiron in Aries since 2019, whether you have found more the wound, like early wounds could have been triggered with that, of being all alone in the world, or being a survivor, or being, or even in a violent environment. And so all of this can be triggered again. The medicine, if you have been in a medicine of Chiron in Aries, you probably experienced this healing quality of finally being totally authentic, being you, showing your true face, and facing the world, facing the new, and starting fresh, and doing baby steps, one step at a time. Try yourself out in new ways. If it doesn't work, do something different, and be true to yourself. So more about that, I would say, in the next Astro News video version. And I close here because it's already getting longish and I don't want to stretch your attention span, but I want to wish you well for this coming week, and hopefully also a bit more sunshine and warmth here on the West Coast. Take care. Bye.